Okay, so how's it going, guys? As you can tell by the title of this video and the stream, we are going to be talking about the Curse of Osiris DLC coming out December 5th. Bungie has been doing a lot of reveal streams, and there has been a bit of controversy going around about the DLC, and I wanted to give my forward opinion on it. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with the Curse of Osiris cinematic trailer. I'm going to be doing a little bit of voiceover throughout the trailer. Just to kind of give you my thoughts. Okay, so first things first, we start off in the Vaulted Glass with what seems to be Destiny 1 type weapons. Now this is kind of cool. Just to kind of envision back during VOG. However, this isn't Vaulted Glass, described by Bungie in a forward stream. They describe this as the Infinite Forest, where the Vex could simulate time of infinite possibilities because they are searching for something. And here you can see Osiris in all his glory with his ghost, which is a female ghost, which is a first for Bungie, or Destiny as a whole.
Need help? Again?
I've got it.
Okay, so Osiris is going to open up a triangle portal type deal in the future where he is going to see a dark future.
Well,
As described by Bungie, there are two futures. The one that the players will eventually go on, and the dark future, which the Vex take over everything. So he views into that and sees something he doesn't like. Thus, the Vex awake. There are a bit of continuity errors, especially in lore, like this part right here. Osiris in lore and continuity was a sun-singing warlock. I don't know why he's a Dawnblade now, but I guess Vex simulation?
you know, I can't help but notice that even with all of reality to explore, you keep picking the places where they shoot at us.
We can't stay here. If the Vex succeed, it's the end of everything.
And then we have this red all-seeing eye, which we have no idea about. It's another Vex god that can see light, as Osiris proclaimed.
Coming back.
If I don't stop the Vex, there won't be anything to come back to. I'm doing this for the both of us.
Don't you even...
Apparently you can throw ghosts. Okay. So after she lands out on Mercury, we see the portal to the Infinite Forest and all its might, thus giving us the Destiny 2 cinematic trailer with the sun and the Almighty right there. Alright. The fuck was on my fire team? So let's talk about some continuity errors right off the bat. Mercury is now a Vex machine world as it's always been. However, in Destiny 2, the campaign, when we board the Almighty, Mercury is almost destroyed, like the whole planet. So the side of Mercury that we could possibly be on is the back-facing side. However, that poses a little bit of a problem, because anytime we see the lighthouse or any part of Mercury, it's always daytime. So there's that. Another continuity error, as I pointed out, was Osiris being a Dawnblade. That's something else that kind of was like, what? Those are just some of the things that I pointed out watching, you know, the trailer and some of these reveal streams. I do have a window capture in OBS here set up just to go over some of the stuff that some of Bungie's streams and a reaction video from a popular streamer. So right here we see the lighthouse in all its glory. But things have changed in the lighthouse since Osiris finally showed himself. Brother Vance is now there, and he somehow was able to add in new flooring to the lighthouse. So if we pause right here, or if this picture wants to stay still, we could see kind of over here that there's new flooring that wasn't there before in Destiny 1's lighthouse. And I will be comparing the two lighthouses because they're the same place. In D1's lighthouse, this area wasn't as big. Of course, there's the classic walkway. And here they show us, you know, the new Vex weapon and the whole area itself. So, I don't know what the architects here did, or what the followers of Osiris ended up doing to add rock and layer of rock to the lighthouse, but they somehow did it. You know, fast forwarding into the video, we see that there's new spaces within the lighthouse that you can, you know, go out and discover, which, you know, brings me up to my point. Where was this in D1's lighthouse? How did this get expanded outward? As we see here, there's tons of libraries, tons of books. Some of his followers here are Exos, as you can see upcoming here, which was pretty cool, to be honest with you. And then we have Vex gate portals. Let's pause here and talk about Vex gate portals. Vex gate portals are used to transport life forms from one area to the next, right? And they're usually circular. 99% of Vex portals are circular, except for one, which was in Vault of Glass when you fought Atheon. That was the only exception to the Vex portal system. Now in D2, there are triangular Vex portal systems, which, I don't know, it causes a continuity error in my mind, because these are newer, per se, to Destiny 2. But if the Vex could come from future, past, and present, why haven't we seen these triangle portals before? If we jump forward a little bit in the video, we come to the place that after you get quest lines from Brother Vance, you are able to get these weapons. There's 11 of these weapons that you can get and reclaim at this area right here to get these said weapons. Now, the problem with this is they're fused with Vex technology created by Osiris. Here's the problem. The Vex can create infinite number of things to their own vices, right? In Destiny 2, weapons of any named type, so say Haunted Earth, not exotics, Haunted Earth, the old-fashioned, everybody has the same exact roll on their weapon. Now, if you see where I'm going here, then you're already out of the game. If you don't, Vex technology weapons should have infinite number of solutions, infinite number of rolls to be forged, right? Right? Well, Bungie, taking one step backwards toward something that we should have had, said, no, let's make all these weapons the same. Let's stick with our gameplay in here, which is good, but bad at the same time, you know? But, you know, re-rolled weapons, reforged weapons are a topic for a totally different time. So that's where that's at. And then Gathalion here, props out to Corey, makes a good point. We're going to listen into what he says. If you want the link, you could see it here.
Like, that's silly. That's like, why wouldn't you do that? It makes so much sense. The Vex, even from a story standpoint, it makes sense. Because, you see, the Vex, they're all about the infinite probabilities of the world. And so when you're putting together this Vex shit into the Forge, it's infinite probabilities until you get the one you like.
Okay. So going off Cathalion's point, which is kind of where I make my stance here about this, is that it was silly of Bungie to consider the fact that Osiris made Vex-infused weapons and not have them be able to roll to the weapon stats that you'd like. I think that was quite silly on Bungie's part, not only because it creates continuity errors, but it also says, hey, player, fuck you and your knowledge of the Vex. We're going to do something that you didn't want. You know, and that's something that I don't agree with. I think that weapons should come with different rolls on them, as they did in D1. However, weapons shouldn't... these weapons that you get should be found throughout the game. Earned, should I say. Giving the player more initiative. Again, this is getting sidetracked here. Let's move on. Okay. So, moving on ahead. Bungie introduces us to some of the gear that we'll be earning on Mercury as the planetary gear. Also shows more of the pulse rifle, kind of what the hunters look like, what the Titans look like. It's got a Mass Effect look to it, not gonna lie, but it's the design Bungie decided to go with. They then go on to explore Mercury, which has Cabal, which has Fallen, which has all these races. The Fallen and the Vex have... not the Fallen and the Vex. The Vex and Hive have never met before, but in the infinite forest of infinite possibilities, they do eventually meet up. Now, they're running around right here going to the infinite forest gate, which they kind of hold off for the next stream, which we will go over to the next stream to view because continuity, or not continuity, which we'll go over to next stream in a minute to view this infinite forest. Right here they show off some gameplay of the public event. Now the public event in my mind is a strike, plain and simple, to the point. Bungie secretly disguised the public event as a third strike. It's longer than any other public event than we've had. It looks a bit more challenging than any public event that we've had, and to be honest, it looks good. There's a lot of mechanics to this public event that I'm excited to play. And it was only designed for Mercury, which I found pretty interesting. They do show how to activate the heroic, but they don't tell how. And my best guess with this is that you have to kill all the Vex in order to summon the public event or heroic event. They pick up keys, these spherical balls that you have to dunk, and eventually you have to come to this area around, flying around Mercury to defeat the final boss. Okay. So, we'll go ahead and skip ahead to the infinite forest of infinite possibilities. And I say that very gently because Bungie handcrafted every area detailfully. However, they created a script in-game that said, okay, let's have random space go with random space. Kind of, in their words, piece like a Lego brick. And I think that's okay, but in order to be an infinite forest of infinite possibilities, Bungie should have went with a procedurally generated engine with this. The reason why I say that is because you could have just about any possibility, any new occurrence happen, that wouldn't be the same as the last. Now, they said every occurrence that you see here that you play, you will not encounter again. Well, I highly doubt that. I'm sure someone's going to come across the infinite forest and be like, I've been in this scene before. I know I have. And they could record data, they could back that up and say, hey, this has happened to me twice now. And that's getting nitpicky, but still. Bungie said they didn't go with procedurally generated because it would have been screwing with player gameplay. They went with something that would help the player develop their knowledge of an area to get into better fights or to get into better gunplay mechanics, which I get. But at the same time, if the player goes to this infinite forest and sees this chunk of land that they have, then they're going to get familiarized with it, and it's going to lose its lust after every time you see the same chunk or the same partition of land. That's why I think procedurally generated would be a better option here. This scene right here seems to be the same, kind of as a gateway into the infinite forest, which is, it's fine. I guess everything needs its sort of gateway. Okay, so they come across the inside, underneath, in the core of Mercury, where the Vex have hollowed out. This is a mission here, and if I can go back into the previous stream where they went into the thing, they have these trees here, Vex trees, basically portal systems, that show red being the dark future, which is Vex controlled. They have the past, and the pathway down the middle is the present. It's where you're at. It's the Vex simulated world, which I think is really cool. And if you check out the skybox here, all these areas are areas that you can encounter or go to, which is really cool. Something that I have a question about is, when we go into the past, can we go into past places such as Venus, such as Venus, such as Mars? Can we go back into, say, Vault of Glass? Can we revisit stuff like the Vex strikes from D1? Is there stuff from D1 that will transfer into Curse of Osiris? I'm not saying like big shit like Fatebringer or Gallarhorn, Icebreaker. I'm talking about, hey, maybe you get a gear set. Maybe you can find the Kabir armor set in the vault, in the past vault. That'd be really interesting to the player, to me. So that's basically what the Vex trees are. And going through the Infinite Forest, you could see that every time they go to unlock something, a new area, a new chunk loads in. As you see here, the Fallen arrive, and they are simulated by Vex. They're essentially Vex AI controlling external combatants. Here we see the Hive, or that's a Dreg, but upcoming we'll see Hive. So here's another continuity error. The Vex have never encountered the Hive. How would they know? They're even a race. How would they know what they look like? How would they know how to be Hive, you know? I think that's something that needs to be answered quite quickly, otherwise it's going to slip through as a continuity error. As you see here, there's the final boss battle, and at the end of this boss battle, you end up getting milestones for completing adventures, which I think is good because it gives the player incentive to do these adventures, because otherwise adventures are just there in the game, and it just being there, what's the point? Unless you're like really into the lore, what's the point? Backtracking to the last stream, they go over raid content. Now, raid content means there will be no new raid in the Curse of Osiris, which I honestly think is a huge missed opportunity on Bungie's part. I think an Osiris raid would have been excellent, but instead Bungie opted to build upon the previous raid because of how big the Leviathan actually is. So they go and rename the next raid Leviathan Eater of Worlds compared to the previous raid. Which I believe was just Leviathan, if I'm right. So they'll launch into the new raid, and as we see the last expansion here, the very last expansion, the one with Amanda Bray, and Rasputin, should I say, will fall into the Leviathan yet again. So I doubt that we will get a fresh new raid until Bungie decides to say, oh hey, we're going to launch a third Taken King size DLC, which you know is imminent. This game is going to have a 3-year life cycle, like Destiny 1, and then Destiny 3 will be leaked or announced. That's getting off topic. So they load into the Leviathan. The Leviathan is the Leviathan, you know. It's kind of the backside of the Leviathan, and yes, you can get here through the original raid. However, it doesn't look like this. So this whole new starting area is new. And it basically says, here, open the doors. You'll see more cabals to shoot. Which I think stops us right here from the web browser. So, Curse of Osiris, in my opinion. And here's where I'm going to go ahead and spill some of my hopes and dreams about it. I hope the story amounts to bigger and better things than the legitimate generic campaign story arc of Destiny 2. It wasn't a bad campaign, it was just generic. I hope we see some major character arcing from maybe Ikora, Osiris, and whatnot. I hope we get to find out what happens to Saint 14s. For those of you that don't know, in the lore, Saint 14 was one of Osiris's friends after Osiris, before Osiris went exiled. And Saint 14 went looking for Osiris after the speaker sent him out. So I hope we get to see Saint 14 in there, or clues to where Saint 14 could have gone. I'm really hoping Bungie can fix the issues with PvP, like new lists, list of game modes that you can have. That was another problem that I had in D1 was you had two options. You could either go into competitive with survival and countdown game modes, or you can go into casual, which has all the classic Destiny game modes. But I hope Bungie decides to segregate those into their own respective playlists, because maybe one day I just want to play Control. Maybe one day I want to say screw it, let me hop into a competitive game of survival. See, the problem with having two segregated playlists is that it tricks the player into thinking that there's a competitive ladder in Destiny 1. Well, there's no, or Destiny 2, sorry. Well, there's no competitive ladder, so what's the point of those two playlists? Bungie said they would eventually get around to making custom matches, which is good. That allows me to dive deeper into investigations of Countdown and explain to you why that's such a broken game mode. But that's getting sidetracked there. In Curse of Osiris, I hope to see some really cool Vex-oriented exotics, maybe Mythoclast 2.0, or maybe get a slap rifle. I don't know. Something really Vexy oriented, and on the exotic, maybe you could chain stats like you could on Kvastov. You know, I'd like to see another weapon like Kvastov in this game. Another continued area, while I'm going to go back to that, is on the Almighty. We got hurt by the sun. Like, we were that close to the sun. And we're getting hurt by sunspots and radiation. Okay? So hear me out. Mercury was in front of the Almighty, or behind the Almighty, but not that far from the Almighty. The Almighty was destroying Mercury to get to the sun. So, why is it on Mercury that we could stand on the surface and not get harmed, when Mercury has no atmosphere whatsoever, when we couldn't just simply stand on the Almighty? I think I'm getting nitpicky, but it's attention to detail, you know, that gets me. And that's one thing that I hope Bungie gets better at as Destiny goes on, is just attention to detail. They've been good so far, but in Destiny 2 they kind of went on the awkward path of a loose cannon. In Curse of Osiris, when we do eventually meet Osiris, I hope that Osiris himself can explain, you know, why he's a Dawnblade instead of a Sun-Singing Warlock. You know, if he's seen Saint 14, why his ghost is different from the player ghosts. Because in every other ghost model that we've seen in the game, it's been the base character ghost. Cade's ghost, Ikora's ghost, Zavala ghost, even though they're a bit bigger, they've been the same ghost that we know of. So why is Osiris's ghost different? I hope that somewhere along the line, some lore tablet or scannable Brother Vance, someone can explain Osiris's point of view from the Battle of Twilight Gap and Battle of the Two Fronts. There's just a lot of lore that I hope will be covered in Curse of Osiris. Let's talk about PvP. Or, not PvP, strikes. Strikes. Ooh. The 2 strikes that are coming with, yes, 2 strikes. They're coming with the Curse of Osiris DLC. I want them to be expansive, you know. I want the mechanics of the bosses, of the whole strike in general, to be just the best Destiny's ever had. And I know I'm shooting high, but as of right now, I'm holding Bungie high. I know I probably will get let down here, but it's still good to hold high. From what I saw with that public event, I know that we can have raid boss strike encounters. That public event that we saw was like Crota's End. In fact, that was more of a raid than Crota's End was. Crota's End you could do in 15 minutes flat. That strike, the more experienced you get with it, you could probably do in the same amount of time, but that looked like a probably a good half hour to an hour, or a good 20-minute, 30-minute, 25-minute strike. Especially if you're shooting for stuff like the heroic, or trying to keep your fire team alive, you know? It's stuff like that that I want to see in Destiny. Just the really tricky, challenging stuff. You know, I want to be challenged in Trial. In, not Trials, wow. In Curse of Osiris. I want to actually do some thinking, and utilize weapons in certain areas that wouldn't be effective in other areas. I'm hoping in Curse of Osiris also that the raid itself is more expensive than the Leviathan. I hope we get to see Vex in that part of the raid instead of Cabal. Although I know that Cabal will be more prevalent than the Vex, since it's the Cabal ship. But that's at least where I stand with the Curse of Osiris DLC. PvP, I'm not much of a PvP player anymore in Curse of Osiris. Whatever may come, comes. Maybe they'll reveal that in the next stream, and we'll cover it then. But just to reiterate a point, the Vex can complete an infinite number of possibilities, right? Why limit the player to a set amount of possibilities? If the Vex could create A reality, B reality, C reality, D reality, all the way up to irrational reality, I reality. So that's let me add a text file here. So that's reality that is this. Right. Hold on. I equals reality. You know, I being all real numbers. I being reality 1.5. I being negative, you know. Why does Bungie decide to say, hey, you can have this. You can have, let's see. And in Bungie's mind, Bungie equals Vex locked reality A through, let's go with 1. Let's go with numbers. 1 through, say, 200. Right? You have a set amount of realities that you can go through. Why would you limit that when in your game's continuity, in your game's lore, the Vex can be infinite? It could be all real numbers. It could be irrational numbers. It's the motherfucking Vex. Why would you limit it to numbers? Why would you limit Vex reality? And then we could bring up guns. So I equals possibility of different guns. Vex. Hold on, not different guns. Different stats slash models slash etc. per gun. And this is the Vex. However, Bungie equals 1. See what I'm saying here? The Vex are, again, not to beat the dead horse, can create infinite number of parallel universes, infinite number of X, whatever the fuck they want. Weapons. Vex can create infinite variations of weapons. We've seen this with slap rifles. We've seen this with their launchers. You know? So if I wanted a hand cannon with say this sight, Dragonfly or Firefly in this game, and I don't know, a suppressor stock with Vex technology infused, I should be able to get that. Now I think that's going out of Bungie's engine's way, but that's what the Vex are. And Bungie is slapping us in the face saying, no. Due to our glorious game design, you get one variation of this gun that everybody else is going to get. Forging these 11 weapons is the end game, right? The raid in forging these 11 weapons is the end game. But what's the point of chasing after weapons that everybody else is going to get the same roll on? They are minimizing the incentive to earn these weapons. And I don't understand why. So that's where I stand on the Curse of Osiris so far. We'll see what happens in the next stream. Of course, I'll be playing the Curse of Osiris, so if you are wanting to watch, then you are more than welcome to watch me stream the Curse of Osiris here on Twitch. I'll be uploading videos to YouTube as always, and hope you guys have a good rest of your evening or day. If you're watching this on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys later on. Adios.